Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Big breaking news tonight as Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, has just confirmed Status Quo's reporting from November, where we found that the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, under, at the time, Governor Rick Snyder, he's no longer the governor, was going into homes and improperly testing Flint residents' water for lead and copper. What Status Quo found in November, after going to Flint all summer and then some of fall, we knocked on 450 doors in Flint, Jen, Dies, and myself, and we spoke with at least 150 residents in Flint. And what we found was the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, which was the same agency that caused the water crisis in the first place, by failing to add corrosion control chemicals into the Flint River. That's why lead started leaching off the pipes into the water supply, because the proper corrosion control chemicals weren't added into the Flint River. This agency was sending officials into Flint residents' homes, not only Flint residents' homes, but Flint residents that were on the official state testing program. It was called the Sentinel testing program. That Sentinel testing program was the official state program that the state of Michigan was using as its measuring stick to see whether Flint's lead levels overall were shrinking after the water crisis made national headlines. The Sentinel group was supposed to be homes that were tested consistently through two plus years, and if those homes were having their lead levels shrink through routine testing, then the state of Michigan could say, we are again meeting EPA regulations. But what Status Quo found, again, talking to at least 150 residents, we found that in at least 35 homes on this state program, the state of Michigan's environmental agency had improperly tested. What they did was they let residents' water run for, in some cases, just 30 seconds to a minute. In some cases, we found 10 to 15 minutes. And then they would put the sample bottle under the tap. That's called flushing. And what that does actually is it flushes out potentially high levels of lead, and then you get an artificially lower number. And then voila, Flint is again meeting EPA regulations for lead. We found this in at least 35 homes. In some cases, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality sent officials into residents' homes, and the official ran the water and then collected the lead and copper sample. In some cases, it was workers from the CORE program, which was Flint residents who were trained by Michigan Department of Environmental Quality officials. They were supposed to just be going around Flint, handing out water filters, making sure residents knew how to put the water filter on, and things like that. They weren't supposed to be testing residents' water. Actually, the EPA confirmed for us, not only were CORE workers not supposed to be doing that, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality officials were not supposed to be going in and doing the testing themselves. That what was supposed to happen was they were supposed to drop off the water testing kit with the resident with written instructions, and the resident was supposed to do the testing themselves. Not only this, but in some cases, it wasn't the state officials who actually went in and flushed the residents' water. It was state officials verbally telling the residents, how you test the water is you run the water, in some cases for several minutes, before taking the lead and copper sample, which is against EPA regulations and actually against the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality's own instruction video. In their instruction video, it said, do not flush. Here's Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, who just became governor in January, on a panel. It was at Flint Journal, which is the local newspaper in Flint. At their headquarters, they were hosting a panel where the governor talked to Flint residents, professors, and others about regaining trust in Flint. Here is the governor explaining our reporting and confirming our reporting.
I think that's an important point. And it also goes to, some of the reporting that we've had about the testing where the water was run for a long time when perhaps it shouldn't have been. And so,
right.
You may regret being on this panel because the DEQ, I think, is going to be in contact with you shortly, because I'd love to make sure that we've got wonderful people who are working in water quality at the department. But with the few resources that have been allotted,
Absolutely.
It's been such a struggle, and so I think sharing information would
Well,
be helpful.
and
So what you have there, again, when she was talking about reporting done, that was Status Quo. That was our door knocking that found this out. To date, the Congressman Ro Khanna has called for an investigation based on our reporting. Congresswoman and presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard has called for an investigation based on our reporting. There was a series of celebrities that called for an investigation based on our reporting. And in February, myself and photojournalist Ty Bayless, we actually met with the Solicitor General of Michigan, who is now in charge of the entire Flint water investigation. She was just appointed to oversee the Flint water investigation, which to date has charged 15 state officials with crimes related to the water crisis. We met with her and two of her associates, and I can't go into further details about that, but we met, and I've spoken with her office since. We shared our findings with the Solicitor General, who is obviously under the Attorney General. Why this is so important, Governor Whitmer confirming our reporting during that panel, is so far there's been no accountability. The Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, again, manipulated the water lead testing in Flint. In our story, you have it right here, Erin Brockovich calls this a crime. She also called it cheating. And I want to point out that in response to our reporting, and I'll just read it from our story here, in response to Status Quo's investigation, MDEQ denied our findings, claiming there were many different types of tests that occurred in Flint by many different agencies and academic institutions, and that the residents who were reporting flushing in their homes by state officials were simply having some confusion regarding the type of testing that occurred in their homes. Coincidentally, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality's line about the residents having some confusion was pretty much the same response that we got from then Governor Snyder's office. You could draw conclusions as you may like. What's super important about this, Status Quo has reached out to many congressmen in Congress, the Senate, to try and see if politicians would stand up and call for an investigation. What's the most important about this is if the testing was manipulated in Flint for over 2 years, and that manipulated data was used to declare the water restored, and that declaration to declare the water restored was the declaration used to shut down the free water pods and start pulling back relief to Flint, well, how do we know what the real lead levels are in Flint? That was always the point of this story. If the testing is not valid, if the testing, as Erin Brockovich said in our story, is invalid based on the manipulated samples we found, how do we know that children in Flint are still not drinking contaminated water? If the testing was manipulated, don't we need new testing? And while that new testing is going on, shouldn't free water distribution be reinstated? On April 25th, it is the 5-year anniversary of the Flint water crisis. Again, 5-year anniversary of the Flint water crisis. This is a major breakthrough with the governor of Michigan confirming our reporting. We will see what happens from there. But again, the declarations that Flint's water is now restored that came from ex-Governor Rick Snyder, Governor Whitmer is now saying the residents' water lines were run before the samples were taken, confirming our reporting. I will update you as we have more developments in this story. And remember, our documentary, Flushing Flint, that portrays Jen and my reporting, all that door knocking, all the stories that we found, all the interviews we did with still ill, poisoned, and desperate residents. That documentary premieres April 23rd. Members of Status Quo, if you're a Status Quo member, you will get it before April 23rd. You will also get it free of charge. Flint residents will also get it before April 23rd, as well as free as charge. If you're not a Status Quo member, it'll be available for you to rent or buy at flushingflint.com. flushingflint.com.